Well, our hot topic at the minute is the amount of plastic we're using, and a lot of the plastic is getting into the oceans and in the environment, and we're all becoming more aware of how much we're using in our everyday life. And in the garden we do use a lot of plastics. Obviously we've got the plastic pots and the plastic cell trays, and you can't sort of buy a plant from a garden centre without it coming in a plastic pot usually. The good thing about gardening is we're very good at reusing things. So as one tip is, if you've got a lot of plastic pots, just keep reusing them, just don't throw them away. If you're using them, they're not getting into the environment, you're just keeping them to yourself. But other things you've got in the garden that are plastic are quite often the crop covers, sort of the fleeces have got a little bit of plastic in, the sort of the EnviroMesh, which are really fine mesh, and the netting, they're plastic. We can't really do without those. They're so useful to protect our crops. But the good thing about them is we can reuse them. And things like fleece and the very fine meshes, we can actually wash them if they get really dirty, and we can use them for years and years and years if we look after them. So that's sort of the best way of handling those plastics. Things like plant labels, well, we can use wood instead. Any bits of old sort of offcuts of wood make fantastic plant labels. This sort of size is good for sort of using actually out on the plot. And at the end of the season, you can just put a little bit of paint over them, or just scrub off the name and reuse those. Pots, instead of using plastic, you can get fibre pots. Now all garden centres will sell these fibre pots. The good thing about them is you can literally plant them straight into the ground and they'll rot away. You can also make your own out of sort of toilet roll inner tubes, or out of old newspaper. Just make your own pots. Other things, don't use plastic string. Use the sort of jute string. And in fact, you can actually buy netting that you can use to for runner beans to climb up sweet peas. You could buy netting that's made out of this string. You don't actually have to buy the plastic netting. If you look online, you can find quite a few suppliers of that. And another thing, instead of plastic mulches to stop weeds growing, you can use bits of old cardboard. That's a good way of sort of recycling that, and not just have to sort of weigh down the edges so it doesn't sort of blow away. So there's lots of ways that you can actually reduce your use of plastic. You probably can't eliminate it, but there's certain ways you can reduce it. There's even things like fertilisers. You can buy a lot of fertilisers in cardboard boxes rather than the plastic bottles. So it's just a way of just sort of having to think a little bit more carefully about before you buy things, and just reusing materials.